Welcome to another Parenting and Mental Health Wellness Wednesday. Tonight, or today, I should say, we're going to talk about coping for the holidays. So it's one I brought up last year, and I think it's well worth bringing up again because, last year I feel like I did it a little bit late and I needed to get this information out earlier. So hopefully this time around we can go over this sooner and um, and work with it. So, some things to know about coping for the holidays. Um, the first thing we're going to do is we are going to focus on doing a little stress quiz. Um, and then I have some tips for you. And then, of course, there's always time for question and answers. Today, if you have questions or things that you want answered, always post it in our Facebook page when this is posted, and then I can get to those as soon as possible. So take a moment to answer these questions to yourself and let me know how you respond. Now, if you're like most of us, there are definitely a few of these that you answered true. And if that's the case, then you are in the right place today to talk about coping for the holidays. So let's go back to this quiz for a second. So declining holiday party invitations is not an option. And there might be some part of you that gets FOMO and you really don't want to miss a holiday party, and totally get that. And for a lot of us, we're okay missing it. And sometimes it's okay to miss a holiday party. If you have a lot going on and if you start to, if you're, as a parent, you start to go like, oh, well, I don't want our kids to miss this or things like that, you know, talk to your kids about it. Say, hey, do you want to go to aunt or uncle or grandma or grandpa, whatever the place may be? And if they're kind of like, if they're ambivalent about it, they're kind of like, I don't know, then really consider whether or not it's the right thing to do. You might be able to come up with something else that's just as festive, that's a lot less stressful. A lot of common holiday stressors come from things like, common cause of holiday stress can include money, high expectations, time, and in-laws. Okay. And I say in-laws, it can be in-laws, it can be your family, it doesn't matter. Yeah, a lot of holiday stress comes from that. And we're going to talk about all of those things today. Some holiday traditions are not continued out of joy. Also true, we do them because we feel like we have to. We have to put up all the Christmas lights. We have to put up all of the decorations. If it's something your child gets a lot of joy out of helping you with, then great, keep doing it. If it's not, maybe reconsider. Put on a happy face and keep the wine nearby. Well, for a lot of us, sometimes we use alcohol in coping, and that can definitely be difficult. Um, so, and then, eating things that we're not supposed to, spending more than we want to, all these things need to be considered about what's necessary and what are we doing out of habit or because we think someone else wants us to do it. So, another part of the quiz, which is the following the best way to ease pressure of the holiday? Indulging in holiday treats, perfecting your grandmother's cookie recipe, or watching a fun holiday movie with your family. Well, it's going to differ for each person. Out of those three, I would say the healthiest is probably C, watching a funny movie with your family. Uh, it could be perfecting your grandma's recipe if that seeking perfection is not causing you stress. Otherwise, I would stay away from it. Indulging in holiday treats, yeah, it's fine to indulge a little bit, but be careful where one cookie turns into 12 or one glass of wine turns into 3, things like that. Um, what do you do to avoid getting overwhelmed? Do you say no gracefully? Do you do your best Grinch impression? Or do you consolidate activities? What are the two of those? I would say B and C definitely could be helpful. Maybe being a Grinch, not so helpful. So out of these, how many of these would you answer true or yes? Right? Thinking it's important to have your kids go to every holiday activity. Uh, you won't let the kids decorate because they might make a mess. You have no routine during holiday break. You just decide it's okay to let loose and let be. Staying up late is okay. Lots of holiday treats. Uh, you know, are your kids fighting with you? Do you not tell your kids bad news during the holidays? Okay. Now, these are all with your kids in mind. And it's important to recognize these. We're going to talk about a lot of this today. So, based on a poll from the American Psychological Association, um, it said that 8 out of 10 Americans anticipate stress and anxiety during the holiday season. Uh, so they also found that, 75% of Americans reported money as a significant stressor during the holiday, and that women were more likely than men to have heightened levels during the holiday season and were less likely to try to relax, and were also more likely to seek perfection. So all of these things, that's what that quiz was based on. We want to be conscious of these things. Some other things things that cause stress related to this survey, expenses was one of them. Traveling, even if you're going to a great place, getting there, especially during the holidays because it's so crowded, can be really stressful. Any way you can reduce that stress of the travel can be helpful. Too many obligations, too many holiday parties, too much. I mean, even too much, I'm a big fan of volunteering, but too much volunteering can become stressful. Uh, Overeating, over drinking, uh, grief. The holidays, we get a lot of pressure to be happy. And sometimes when bad things happen during the holidays, it heightens that grief. And we want to talk about ways of, maybe mitigating that a little bit of recognizing what we've lost and also recognizing what we have. Um, Seasonal affective disorder is a real thing. It is not sunshiny and light out for as long. So we are making less vitamin D, focusing on maybe getting some vitamin D supplements or talking to your provider about, you know, um, getting B12 shots or things like that that can help with seasonal affective disorder can be really helpful. Also, doing the activities that bring us joy all can help with seasonal affective disorder. The stress of our kids' wishes not being fulfilled. You know what? I really can't remember something I actually asked for at Christmas time from Santa or for whatever. Um, and what I do remember is when the holidays were fun, and I remember how the holidays made me feel. I remember some of what they did. Clearly, I'm boring Bentley right now because she's snoring so loud. Um, and it was less about what I received. There are a couple presents that I kind of remember because it was, very thoughtful. And it was something I got a lot of joy out of. But for the most part, I don't really remember out of all of the years that, my parents were giving me gifts, I maybe remember one or two presents that were like significant and felt really special. Um, so hopefully that helps you take a little bit of less stress off of, you know, the wishes that can't be fulfilled and just asking your kids exactly what they want and then mitigating their expectations, which we can talk more about in a little bit. Okay, let's reflect for a second. Take a moment to think about your holiday time last year. What went well? What activities made it special? What were your major stresses? And what are your shoulds that you have on your list for this year? You know how I feel about shoulds, right? Shoulds are external expectations that we put on ourselves, right? We should put lights up. We should have a big Hanukkah celebration. We should travel to grandma's house. Right? Maybe take a hard look at what's really needed and what are expectations that aren't your own. So I say signs. We want to look for when the holidays are stressing our kids out. Generally, again, the kids get stressed out and they have these expectations. Gosh, Hollywood doesn't make it easy, right? All these expectations about how great the holidays are going to be and how everything has a happy ending, unless, of course, you watch the Hallmark Channel, which then I feel like you're always crying at the end. But, kids get stressed out during the holidays too. So signs to look for might be tears or backlash or a response to a situation that seems uh, overly dramatic. Uh, Nail biting, hair twirling are considered nervous behaviors. So if you see more of that than normal, right? Physical complaints, stomach aches, headaches, um, you know, lots of fatigue, not wanting to hang out with their friends. These could all be signs. If they start doing things that they haven't done since they were younger, bedwetting, tantrum throwing, things they haven't done in a long time, that could also be a sign that they're feeling stressed out during the holidays. And I said, withdrawal from things they like, their school, friends, family. If they suddenly get quiet, they don't do the things they normally like to do, that could be basically any obvious change in their regular behavior could be a sign that they're experiencing the stress of the season too. So we want to go over some ways that you can mitigate that. And that's why I'm doing this early this year to make sure that we all make a plan. So one of the best ways to handle holiday stress and coping through the holidays is making a plan early. And part of the plan, you want to be able to create some balance in structure and in freedom. So yeah, it's great to have a break from maybe school commitments, a break from homework or a break from sports or other extracurricular activities. Um, However, keeping some structure, if you remember in past sessions when I talked about structure and knowing expectations, knowing the rules of the game, make people feel actually more safe and more secure. So having some expectations and some structure is really important, which could mean you schedule downtime, right? So, and you want to keep a routine. So manage expectations, keep a routine, and schedule downtime. You want to keep things, and we're going to go into more details about this, but like keeping the sleeping schedule on point as much as possible. Try not to be too rigid, especially if there's something extra fun. Maybe there's a community holiday party that goes a little late and the kids are having a blast. Okay, fine. But trying to keep them on a schedule so that they don't get really out of whack and it's really hard to get back to school once school goes back will be helpful. Um, Also, it helps with emotional regulation. We know when we don't get enough sleep, we're not our best selves. When we're not our best selves, we don't react to situations as well as we could. So, getting enough sleep, trying to maintain healthy diet, trying to stay active, all of those normal healthy things, try to get them, keep those in the routine. And maybe you get to do some more healthy things in the routine because you have that little extra free time. So try and plan ahead, try and schedule not only downtime, but other healthy things in the schedule, which we're going to talk about in a second. So let's talk about managing expectations. First, let's manage expectations of you and other adults in your life that you may either be exchanging gifts with or getting gifts for your children. Set a budget, right? If you have family members that tend to go overboard on gifts, they might get a little offended at, saying like, hey, please don't spend over this. Just have a conversation with them about it and talk to them why you're saying this. You don't want anyone to get stressed out about not spending enough or spending too much. A lot of times people just say, I'm just not going to think about it. I'm going to get whatever I want to get for the kids. And then, when the stress hits, January, when all the bills come in, and you realize now you're digging out of debt for the next several months, and you finally get out of debt right around the time when it's holiday season again. So set a budget, stick to it. And part of setting the budget is, again, back to that managing expectations of, wow, there are definitely several Hi, back. A part of those setting expectations are things like making sure that when you are doing these things, that you really look for things that matter. So what do I mean by that? I mean, making sure that you focus on what matters. So is it really the present that matters? Probably not. It's probably something else. Probably the time they get to spend with you. So when you're looking at expectations, make sure that you're paying attention to what matters. Okay, I'm going to go back to, um, don't, and certainly as part of managing expectations, don't make promises that are out of your control. Uh, so promising that they'll get to go to something or that they will, you know, get to see a certain show that you haven't bought tickets to, or that they'll get to see a certain person that may or may not be home. If you have family members that are military or travel a lot, that might be traveling during the holidays, you really want to be aware of what you can manage and what you can't. Um, so make sure you're paying attention to that. Um, So the last thing I would say is pay attention to what you say yes and what you say no to. Oftentimes we get in this habit of saying yes to too many things because again, we have complete FOMO and we don't want to miss anything. So along with that, double check what you're setting yourself up for. Double check what you're telling your kids that you have time to do. Uh, we want to make sure that we're truly staying focused on the point, and it's all about quality time. So, with that in mind, be careful what you're committing to. Okay, I'm going to put these slides back up. Sorry for that for the moment. Let's go back to here. Okay, so again, related to this, we want to set these expectations, right? So, be careful what you're saying yes and no to. Uh, and let's talk about routines. So, hang on to healthy habits. I said this earlier. Maintain your normal routine when at all possible. Maybe being flexible, but continue to eat as healthy as you can. Continue to get the sleep that you need. Continue to get the physical activity you need. If anything, try and add a little more healthy routines in there. Try and challenge your kids and yourself to making a Thanksgiving recipe more healthy. I know, that's not very fun, right? But maybe you look at your casserole recipe and you find a way to make it a little bit more healthy. Um, you'd be surprised at how your kids might get excited about that, and then they would be proud to know what they did and have them look at labels and talk about, you know, have them do taste testing with different types of things. Yes, it might take a little bit more time initially, but if you're doing something that's healthy and you have that quality time with your kids, they're going to remember that, right? Um, find out what traditions your kids really look forward to, and those are the ones you want to keep, right? All the others don't matter. Um, and if at all possible, focus on keeping traditions that focus on things like fostering gratitude, helping others, giving, quality time. Those are the things your kids are going to remember. Also, pay attention to actively recovering for you and your kids. That means scheduling downtime for both of you. So again, making the plan, right? Have certain days where you can plan to have no plans. That is structured. And when people know that, I know for me, when I suddenly have nothing on my schedule, but I wasn't expecting it, I actually get anxious. And I'm like, oh, because I have this huge list of things that I could do, but it feels overwhelming because I haven't planned to get some of those things done. Now, if I think about it the day before, I'm like, oh, or if I think about it ahead of time, I say, hey, I think I'm going to have this day where I'm not going to have other obligations. What could I get done on that day? Then it becomes a lot easier and you're more prepared to handle that. Okay. So try and factor in getting the right amount of sleep, having downtime from people. The holidays are a lot of people. having time where you're alone, maybe you're taking a walk in the woods. You can be walking with others and just have that quiet time. Scheduling like reading, getting off a screen and just reading. I've done that with my kids before, and I'm always amazed at how much I get done. I will sit there, I'll pick up a book I haven't read in months because I get distracted, and my kids will sit down there and read, and they're perfectly happy. They don't complain about it at all. And especially if you set a time to it, like we're all going to quietly read for an hour. Great. Um, just be tuned in to what charges your kids and what doesn't. Okay. What recharges them, I should say. And, make sure that you're scheduling enough recovery time so that when you have to go to those things that drain you, you have a full battery to go into that environment so that you don't get so drained that you react poorly to certain situations. Quality time. I can't stress this enough. Quality time is really what the holidays are all about. You have some downtime, make it worthwhile. Yes, sometimes it's harder to invite the kids in to help you decorate, but I have a lot of people that I know that wait to do decorating the tree until Christmas Eve or the day after Thanksgiving, and they all do it together. And and I do have some people that go in and they say, well, we all decorate together, and then I go back in and I rearrange the tree so it looks better. Okay, fine. But you know what? The kids are going to remember that you did it together and that they had a great time. Get out some board games. When's the last time you played a board game? Or if you want to get on a screen and you and your kids really enjoy playing video games, make sure it's a video game that you can play together, right? This is all about the time you have together. It doesn't always have to be some extravagant big thing. You don't have to go to the Caribbean to have good family time. You don't have to go to some ski adventure. Just playing a video game together, or playing a board game, or cooking, making cookies, or helping make the Thanksgiving dinner, all of that, doing it together is going to feel more connecting for your kids than, you know, not doing anything and or going on some vacation where they run off and do their own thing all day. Finally, remember to say no, which means pause, take a breath, think about again what went well last year, try to recreate that. What were the major stressors of last year? Now, what changes can you make to the things that were stressful last year that could ease the stress this year? We talked about a bunch, from making a plan to saying no more often to scheduling downtime. Talked about a bunch of different things that you can do, right, to managing expectations that can really help reduce stress. What shoulds can you remove? What are the things that are external expectations that you don't really need to do? If, making, giant trays of candies and cookies for everyone in your neighborhood feels stressful, then don't, right? Just bring one tray to the community party, or maybe just make it a little bag of cookies. People will understand. Or something else. If getting that holiday card out with the picture of family is too stressful, don't do it. If it's too stressful to all be dressed in the same clothes for your holiday picture, then don't. Make it crazy wacky and let all your kids dress and be as silly as possible, or make it themed, like Christmas themed, and then they can wear their ugly sweaters or whatever. Make it fun. That's going to speak more to what your family's all about than some very crisp, clean photo that looks like everyone else's. Now, if that's what you all love and you love wearing that pressed shirt and that, perfect dress, then by all means, keep doing it. But really take a moment to think about what really matters to you and your family and what you really enjoy, as opposed to what you think you ought to do based on other people's expectations. At the end of the day, holidays about being with family, connecting with each other, having time for one another, and being grateful for what we have, being grateful for what we have experienced, and experiencing that gratitude and joy. So take some time with that and enjoy the holidays. I hope some of these tips were helpful to you, and I'll see you again next week for another Wellness Wednesday. Be well and have a great Thanksgiving.